Think about the device you're using right now to watch this. Your phone, your laptop. It simply wouldn't exist without the work of one particular person. He's arguably the most important scientist of the 20th century, and yet most of us have never even heard his name. Well, today, we're going to change that. Now, we've all heard of Marie Curie winning 2 Nobel Prizes. Amazing stuff. But they were in different fields. So, let me ask you a tougher question. Who is the only person in history to win the Nobel Prize in physics twice? I mean, just think about that for a second. Winning 1 Nobel Prize puts you in the history books forever. But winning 2 in the exact same field, that is legendary. That's a whole other level. The answer is John Bardeen. And when I say he re-engineered our world, that is not an exaggeration. He truly, fundamentally reshaped our reality, starting right down at the atomic level. But his path to becoming a legend didn't exactly start in some high-tech university lab. In fact, his career began somewhere completely different, which makes his achievements all the more remarkable. You see, he had a great job, a secure, really well-paying gig at Gulf Research Labs, using geophysics to find oil. But it just wasn't his passion. So he walked away from all that stability to go chase the big, theoretical questions of science at Princeton. And that single decision, well, it would end up changing the world. And that one move set him on this incredible path. After Princeton, he lands at the legendary Bell Labs in 45, and then he moves to the University of Illinois in 51. Now look at the prize dates, 1956 and 1972. That's 16 years apart for 2 gigantic breakthroughs in completely different areas of physics. Just wild. So let's dig into that first prize. It was for an invention that, and I mean this literally, created the world we live in today, the transistor. So what the heck is it? Well, to put it simply, the transistor effect lets you control electricity flowing through a solid. Think of it like a microscopic gate or a tiny dam for electrons. A very small electrical signal can open that gate and let the current flow, or it can slam it shut and stop it completely. And this is why that tiny little switch was so revolutionary. Before the transistor, we had these big, bulky, hot glass things called vacuum tubes. They were unreliable. The transistor let us miniaturize everything. It's the reason we have computers that fit on our laps instead of filling entire rooms. It is the literal foundation of the information age. Now, you'd think inventing the transistor is enough for one lifetime, right? You could just call it a day. But Bardeen, he wasn't done. For his next act, he decided to tackle a problem that had stumped the greatest minds in physics for half a century: superconductivity. And this really puts it all into perspective. Superconductivity, this weird thing where electricity can flow with zero resistance, was discovered way back in 1908. But for nearly 50 years, it was a total mystery. Nobody knew how it worked. It was one of the biggest unsolved problems in all of physics until Bardeen came along. He worked with Leon Cooper and Robert Schrafer, and together they developed what's now known as BCS theory. The basic idea is that at super cold temperatures, electrons actually pair up. They kind of hold hands, and this lets them glide through a material without any friction, like 2 skaters moving together through a crowd. It was the elegant solution everyone had been searching for. So that brings us to his legacy. And what's so fascinating is that it's absolutely monumental, but for most people, it's completely invisible. He's the architect of so much of what we just take for granted every single day. Let's make this really personal. That smartphone you have, inside its main chip, there are billions, with a B, of tiny little switches, billions of transistors, and every single one is a direct descendant of the device Bardeen co-invented at Bell Labs. It's the same deal with your computer. The processor inside is like a miniature city powered by transistors. Every calculation it makes, every single pixel that lights up on your screen, is all happening because of the semiconductor physics he helped establish. And what about his second Nobel? That theory of superconductivity sounds really abstract, doesn't it? Well, it's what makes MRI machines possible. The super powerful magnets needed for those life-saving scans can only exist because of his explanation of how electricity can flow with zero resistance. So you see, from entertainment and communication all the way to life-saving medical tech, his work is truly woven into the very fabric of our world. So let's end right where we started, an engineer turned theoretical physicist who changed the world. Twice.
the only person in history to win 2 Nobel Prizes in physics, John Bardeen.
And it makes you wonder, doesn't it, as we go about our days, surrounded by all this technology that feels like magic, what other quiet, unassuming geniuses have laid the foundations for the world we know?